Hello there, welcome along to Business Today. I'm Jerome Paul Sonko with Winnie Wins and Nakauchi on full sign language. But first, a look at our top stories. In the headlines tonight, Nabanja lures Italians. The Prime Minister entices Milan investors, fronts incentives and trading blocks. The UNBS and SMEs clash. Manufacturers blame Uganda National Bureau of Standards for losses as supermarkets unshelve their products. And in keeping track of businesses, URA tasks local enterprises on efficient record management as several businesses still manifest book record-keeping challenges. And right now, let's get right on to it as we start with the Uganda National Bureau of Standards, who have actually clashed with the small and medium-sized enterprises. Now, the SMEs are angry following a prolonged delay by the Uganda National Bureau of Standards in regards to certification. Despite signs of a remarkable growth and within the sector, such as rising manufacturing credit, the outcry by the SME sector is a reminder about the potential ramifications of the regulatory challenges on the enterprise growth. This and more with Rona Nahabwe.
Data from the Q1 release of the financial year 2023-2024 indicates that the private sector stock credit grew by 0.32%, with manufacturing as a sector denominating with 371 billion shillings, implying that many Ugandans have been borrowing from banks to sustain or start up manufacturing enterprises. Is the market there? Will they survive?
We have seen manufacturing, personal and household loans, trade and building, construction and real estate accounting for the largest share of the credit extended to private sector. That is at 23.8%. So banks are lending more to manufacturers, personal and household, those who want personal loans.
Something that we are highly supportive of. We are aware of the fact that there are so many challenges that have impacted the private sector, given over the years that they have not been able to compete fairly. So if there are ways government can be able to come in to still strengthen their that sector to ensure that it can boost the local and small firms that are trying to gain access to credit to also compete outside with other manufacturing companies. Because most of the challenge has been is that there have been bigger firms that have come in and outcompeted them. So there is need to ensure that this can be put at a leveling ground to ensure that we enhance more of the different private sector enterprises that are out there trying to do this manufacturing and production. Yeah.
A painful story. An SME who still lacks a Q mark from UNBS even after going through the due process of certification. I have proof of her products constantly being removed from the shelves of supermarkets just because she lacks the very thing. I have reliable information of the same thing happening to 200 other SMEs in this very country. Remember, these are SMEs who borrow loans at interest rates as high as 28%. They have people employed under their value chain, and the government itself is losing through taxes.
We were privileged to be enrolled under PSFU sponsorship certification. They reached out and were very grateful. That is last year in November. And they've taken tests, they have audited, and they've reached the last stage of releasing the permit. However, the permit is not released, and then UNBS goes into the market and removes our products from the shelves of a supermarket. Do you know what it takes to get an order from these big supermarkets? It takes, small businesses know how much it takes for you to get an order from such a supermarket. But now if a government parastatal comes and removes the product from the shelf of a supermarket, man, you might remember this product is tested and it has passed. But you come and remove it from the shelf of a supermarket. simply because the funder has not cleared. Does it really make sense to anyone? Now, if you are on loans and you're trying to recover from COVID-19 effects, you're just struggling to recover. And then something like this, it is not easy to get market even in the supermarkets. It's not easy. Unless a product is packed very well and you're good at marketing, you can easily access it, but which most SMEs really are not privileged to. So if you have such an opportunity of getting the market, the local supermarkets, and your products on the local supermarket, and then something like this, someone comes and just pulls it out, really, do you know how much that means?
This is a call to action to UNBS and other concerned parties to harmonize the situation before these SMEs encounter losses they cannot even redeem. That is, if they are even redeemable. I'm Nuna Nahabwe for Business Today, Smart 24 TV.
All right, now let's talk matters cost covering. As the League of East African Directors has red flagged and the complex regulatory system that translates into untenable costs for small businesses and ultimately presenting ripple effects on economic growth. Besides that, during the second convention, the body has called for an integrated regulatory framework to manage the high cost of compliance influenced by multiple regulatory companies. Pedison Mumbere has more.
Regulatory conditions are among the factors affecting small and medium enterprises and entrepreneurship. In the recent years, progress has been made to reduce the cost of regulatory compliance in different areas. However, the complexity of regulatory procedures in areas of licenses, insolvency and taxes are among the obstacles in the entrepreneurial sector. During the second lead convention 2023 themed governance and business resilience in a dynamic regulatory landscape, stakeholders want all these obstacles to be managed.
We're talking about over-regulation, sometimes double regulation, and that's a real challenge. So today we're discussing how do boards navigate these waters? How do boards ensure that they're compliant, but also manage the cost of compliance? Because regulation can be very expensive. I mean, in the insurance industry, we've seen increasing regulation, the capital adequacy requirements, the ratios are very high right now, and a lot of companies are going to have to reorganize themselves. We need boards that are resilient, that are going to adapt to change very quickly.
Regulating different particular industries. And I think one of the rallying call from the members is, can we have a consolidation of regulation to ensure that we get more benefit out of regulators and also manage the management time that goes on with dealing with different regulators. It's a discussion that has started, and thankfully we're also happy that the regulators themselves are also having that discussion to ensure that they consolidate regulation for the good of the regulators and also the regulated entities. So I think it's a welcome development, and we look forward to developments that will come out of that.
Some records indicate that regulatory assessment impact is one way of reducing the cost of regulatory compliance. However, Gertrude Karugaba, the chairperson lead, says that there is a need to integrate all these regulatory companies.
So in due course, it is the right thing to do to try and integrate and reduce the cost of compliance. But in the short term, we need to develop the capabilities, the competencies at regulatory level in order to bridge that gap. So as sectors continue to converge, even the practitioners, today you see banks, they are doing bank assurance, they are doing asset management, they are doing all sorts of regulated activities. As we move more in that direction, as practitioners, we will begin to see that regulators have no choice but to collaborate and to work closely to reduce the cost of compliance, but also to achieve consistency. Because if each regulator does their own thing, you will find that even the reports, the returns that are filed are not consistent. And overall, when you have a boomerang effect, you find that, again, customers, policyholders are the ones who will suffer if things are not regulated properly. So the goal is to integrate, but in the short term,
one of the things we need to realize is that sometimes regulation shows up over-regulation and maybe double regulation comes up when organizations are acting in silos. They're not consulting each other, checking with each other's regulations, and sometimes we also maybe don't inform our legislatures in Parliament enough, and they don't do enough research. That's why organizations like LEAD exist, to give this information. We're doing research. We're doing research on issues of regulation in this sector damaging, or is it helping, or should we need to tighten it up? We know very well right now there is a governance bill. There's a bill on governance in a corporate governance bill in Parliament. We want to ensure that it comes up, because governance is one of those areas that hasn't been very well regulated, and that's why we're seeing a lot of problems.
Just recently in Shema district, circles expressed caution over multiple regulations. These circles are regulated by the Registry of Cooperatives, Uganda Microfinance Registry Authority, and Bank of Uganda. And now because of this, they don't know who to report which type of matters, and they don't know who does what. Bedson Mumbere, Smart 24 TV Business.
Anyways, now away from that, local businesses have been challenged by the Uganda Revenue Authority on effective record management, a measure to track business transaction and progress. As the rising number of startups and businesses manifest challenges dealing with tax-related matters, the Revenue Authority intends to lay ground for business growth and a bigger revenue base through proactive sensitization of proprietors. Bronia Katosime has details.
In an era where data reigns, it is imperative to maintain organized and accurate records when it comes to business operations. But still, a significant portion of the business community still faces challenges when it comes to proper record keeping, which has caused some of them to face difficulties when it comes to dealing with the tax authorities.
In our small medium enterprises today, our taxpayers do not have the will. We are so reluctant, not interested. It's taken as a burden to be able to manage our documents. So you find when they as a tax collecting body we come to assess you, we are in a back and forth movement. We are in a fight, and yet we are meant to work together in this struggle of redeeming our economy from independence.
Nze ngenda kuba abantu bange nyina sente zange zembasabanga ekintu nkiryako sente zange zenjagala ensamusamu.
URA is suggesting that one should keep records of their input and output in a business. It is good but also bad because it sometimes affects our profits because they consider the size of our stock instead.
With URA, when it comes to stock taking, when you just estimate your stock and you just estimate your stock when taking your stock, so it can when your officials come and they take your stock, they can give you a high tariff which you don't expect. If at all you didn't take time to take your stock, it may cause some imbalances.
Within the process of record management, there is key to unlocking enhanced efficiency, credibility and compliance regardless of the size of the business. Uganda Revenue Authority continues to sensitize its taxpayers to comply and embrace record keeping, for it helps bridge the gap between the taxman and the taxpayers to avoid any sort of inconveniences when it comes to following tax laws and regulations in their business operations.
By default, a tax collector record is our information. The whole concept of tax collection is reliable information, reliable data. It is actually key in not only in tax collection but in any business. There's no organization that can stand. We have banks present today, we have NSSF, we have other ministry agencies. There is no entity that can stand without data in this current age. The question is,
at the core of every business's success is the data and information you have that helps you shape the decisions that you make, that helps you shape the policies that you make, that helps you align the strategies of the organization.
entering into the informal economy, there is more need for sensitization about record keeping and its pivotal role when it comes to growth in business operations. Bronia Katsime, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
All right, now elsewhere, let's head to Italy, where the Prime Minister, Right Honorable Robin Nabanja, has asked Italian industrialists to take advantage of Uganda's potential, luring them with incentives and enabling investment climate, which is in particular in Uganda. Now, in the same regard, the Uganda Investment Authority tipped them on various trade protocols such as the East African Community, the African Continental Free Trade Area, and COMESA that are quota-free. Now, Nabanja held the meeting with the consortium in Milan, who are linked to promoting skill development, establishing youth training and different centers locally. We have more.
Leading a Ugandan delegation comprising of the Executive Director of Uganda Investment Authority, Dr. Robert Mukiza, and other technocrats to convince Italian investors to come to Uganda, Prime Minister Honorable Nabanja has met industrialists in Milan, appealing to them about the robust investment climate in Uganda.
Uganda is a developing country, and Uganda is ready for investment. We have a number of policies that favor the investment. One of the policies that we have, he will be telling you all this in detail, is how to support our investment or our investors who come to invest in our country. It's a big policy, the incentives involved, and many other things. Then two, we have created an enabling environment for investment to flourish. Peace and security. We have invested in energy. Like she already told me that some of your companies are in partnership with us. We have a young population that is well skilled. The population of Uganda is composed of the young people who have gone to school, though they still lack employment, who can easily be skilled to do whatever we need to do. And then three, we have the best weather in the world. The best weather.
60% of what we do is in Africa, and 40% is in sub-Saharan Africa. Our Prime Minister has, I think, reaffirmed our strong bond with your continent. And I can tell you that we are reminded every day that we need to support investment in Africa a lot more than we have done in the past.
Green investment with cheapest labor costs and quota-free markets of the East African Community, African Continental Free Trade Zone Area, and COMESA have been used as bargaining chips to utilize the billions of dollars in investment from Italy.
Rain, really confusing weather. but that means investment in green investment is very critical globally. Uganda is the second most biodiverse country in the world. Second most biodiverse. So the opportunity for green investments in our country is absolutely huge. And tapping onto your skills, your technology, your innovation, green investment is going to need that, and you have that in Uganda. But also, again, we're talking about profits. Uganda has the lowest labor costs in East Africa. So once you come, set up your factory, you'll still have the lowest labor costs. So we are now talking to you as an industrialist. You'll make money, you'll not pay a lot in costs for labor. Uganda is part of the East African community. So when you are based in Uganda, you can access East Africa. And I want to just update your figures a bit, Mr. Cheko. DRC joined Uganda, so now there are 300 million people in East Africa. So Kenya, Rwanda, Burundi, Tanzania, South Sudan, DRC. Once you are domiciled in Uganda, you can access these markets quota-free and tariff-free. So remember, those are 300 million people. But we're also a member of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. So soon, once the technocrats finish their discussions, you have a $3.5 trillion economy. You can access 1.3 billion people quota-free and tariff.
Investors have subsequently relinquished their financial influence, which should pique Uganda's interest. Italy is one of the major European trade markets for Uganda, with coffee a key component despite previous questionable investment partnerships with players such as Vinci Coffee. Rona Nahabwe, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
All right, now henceforth, let's look at the local governments in question, as administrations leaning transactions and businesses are presumably stalling as numerous local council 1 and 2 personnel are out of contract. Now, Parliament has, however, granted government an extra 180 days to resolve the current gap by preparing such elections. A few days ago, parliamentary business was suspended in an attempt to resolve this particular issue, despite indicators that oversight was due to budgetary constraints. Samla Hanifa reports.
The issue of Local Council 1 and Local Council 2 elections paralyzed business at Parliament last week, which prompted the Speaker to suspend the House sine die. Today, business has resumed, with government asking for more time, up to 6 months, to look for money and prepare these elections.
Mr. Speaker, government is committed to have elections for LOC1 and LOC2, subject to availability of funds. But as we speak now, the councils need guidance on how to proceed. So this instrument is to guide within this period of 6 months, and after 6 months, I want to believe that we shall have had the resources, the finance minister is here, and then we shall move. But this instrument is for this period.
The purpose of subsidiary legislation, I am now giving the broader purpose of subsidiary legislation, is to give flexibility to ministers and government officers to make a law. It is actually
the government to prepare these elections, but the question is, who slept on their job? Government accuses Parliament for failure to appropriate money for this item, while Parliament says government failed to present the item during the budget process.
That it was not this Parliament that did not budget, provide money for LOC elections. Because, and the Minister of Finance, Madam Speaker, needs to come on record and inform the country that during the budget presentation, you did not provide for the necessary resource. Otherwise, Madam Speaker, we will have a problem on the ground. I beg for your indulgence.
The blame should be put on the leader of government business. They never brought LOC business to Parliament for allocation. The blame again should be put on finance. They never brought the amount to be appropriated. Because if finance doesn't bring the amount to be appropriated by government, by Parliament, we cannot appropriate out of blue.
It's not Parliament failing to appropriate. It's local government, MDS, that have not given that money to Parliament. Parliament does not go out fishing for money. But you, as the presiding officer, as the custodian of the law, look at the grounding norm of the country. It is the Constitution first, not the local government regulations, which are in the 30 schedule, Rule 11.
Speaker Mong has resolved the matter by allowing the local government minister, Honorable Raphael Majezi, to table the statutory instrument before Parliament, allowing government to extend term of leadership for Local Council 1 and Local Council 2. According to the Speaker and the majority of the legislators, the expiry of the local council leadership has stalled many businesses from being transacted.
We are dealing in a state of emergency. I want to tell you, I have people who are even in prison and cannot get out because we don't have the LOC ones in place. I want to plead with you.
Mr. Speaker, there's no comment about it, and if you allowed us to debate this, you'd even see the efficacy of causing some amendments.
Okay.
For instance, thank you.
The ones are not able to issue letters to support movement permits. As a result of that, they asked me for an answer which I didn't have. Today, the government has come with an answer, and therefore I have nothing more useful to add but to support the extension of this term. Thank you.
There is a big crisis that are not moving because we have no legal LOC1 here persons on the borders. And Madam Speaker, as I talk now, the people of Busia municipality brought me here to make the laws. And I think that is our mandate as the August House of this country. I therefore want to agree and call upon my colleagues that the extension of 180 days should be supported so that the LOCs should go on and work so that the country is not held at standstill.
For any Ugandan to carry out a land transaction, acquire court bail, get a national ID, among others, a letter from LC1 and LC2 is required. This has not been happening since the 10th of July of this month, when the term of leadership of these local councils expired. Sam Lanifa, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
All right, now Business Today does take a break. We'll return with more.
Smart 24, driving business.
Luxury redefined at Seasand Hotel as you indulge in the splendor of elegant living fit for the royalty that you are. Step into comfort, pampering and blissful customer-centric service as you select from our range of comfy, exquisite living quarters furnished to meet with your royal preference. Surrounded by scenic beauty, our tropical setting allows you to escape the glamorous ordeal of city life. Our ambient green gardens will guide you to a place of revitalizing rest. The 3-star restaurant caters to your palate, serving your choice menu ranging from exotic cuisines to local delicacies. Our chefs will serve you full-course meals for a truly out-of-this-world culinary experience. Our fully stocked bar to whet your throat, from renowned global brand whisks, brandies, gins, beers and wines to our locally celebrated beverages, you will not lack for any brewage. It's an all-new experience in the East at Seasand Hotel. So visit today at plot 15 to 19 Spire Road, Ginger, or contact us on +256 751 719 960 and +256 785 354 614 for reservations. Seasand Hotels, luxury redefined.
Abagamba nti okuyiiya emizannyo si muzannyo, olina okwewaayo n'okukkiririza ennyo mu kyoyiiya. Olina okubaayo n'omuntu akuyambako. Naye olowooza omuntu ng'ekyo kimuli mu musaayi ebyo bimulya? Anti aba yazaalibwa kukola ekyo. Tega Pearl Magic Prime ne Pearl Magic Loco. Sigala ng'oyungiddwako olabe engero zaffe ennyuvu nga bikoleddwa mu ngeri eyaffe ey'ekinnansi.
Say goodbye to paperwork and travel costs. Now every MTN customer can register to invest in securities anytime and anywhere with Zabu in a few simple steps. Step 1. Dial *292#. Step 2. Select option 1. Register with Zabu. Step 3. Enter your full names. Step 4. Enter your national identification number. Step 5. Enter your national identification card number. In 24 hours, you will receive an SMS confirming your registration. Congratulations, you are now ready to invest.
Saving or securing for the future does not only mean investing in stocks, real estates, or companies, but there are so many chances of becoming a billionaire through practicing agriculture. You don't need a very big plot of land or large capital to start, but slowly by slowly you can build an empire. Uganda's economy is made up of agriculture, services and industry sectors. But agriculture comes out as the backbone of Uganda, employing 70% of the population and contributing half of the country's exports and earnings. Agriculture being the main supplier of raw materials for several companies, and this readily market both in urban and rural areas. There are so many chances of the next billionaires coming from agriculture. From the farmers to the processors, from the processors to the traders, and from the traders to the final consumers. We shall be taking you through the whole agriculture chain. My name is Chris Chitaka Haman, and this is Farm Smart, showing every Friday 7 to 8 p.m. only on Smart 24 TV, driving business.
Smart 24, driving business. We'll be back from the break and you're still watching Business Today. Now our focus turns towards ICT efficiency. Japan and Uganda are in collaboration to station an information communication and technology center. Now, despite key frameworks such as the national backbone infrastructure to transition the country's current position, the latest pact has set forth the ICT industry promotion project, which is aimed at strengthening the ICT ecosystem and improve human resource competitiveness. Giaconi Stewart reports.
Government has partnered with Japan and launched the ICT Industry Promotion Project in a move that is part of the country's broad efforts to entrench efficient and reliable information systems as the country looks towards digital operations across different sectors. Interaction between the ICT Minister and the Japanese Ambassador to Uganda, His Excellency Fukuzawa Hidemoto, was benchmarked on the country's dire need for technological transformation and utility.
Able to access decent education, but the challenge is creating employment opportunities for them. And as the Ministry of ICT, one of the questions we have been raising to ourselves is how do we use ICT to create employment and job opportunities for the young people. And that's a question we shall continue to share with the Japanese ambassador and JICA and the team to see how we can work together to improve the quality of life of these young people in Uganda. And therefore, as we embark on this important project, we welcome support from Japan. We want to thank Ambassador and JICA and the entire team. And as a ministry, we pledge that we shall do everything possible to make sure that the project is successful. We shall do whatever it takes.
Ambassador Fukuzawa hailed the partnership, anticipating better results and more business collaboration between Japanese and Ugandan firms, citing Japan's robust integration of tech in routine activities such as agriculture and other areas like tourism.
It is my hope that this project will promote ICT industry and it will lead to the growth of the Republic of Uganda. And I believe that exchanging ideas between various Ugandans and Japanese and the creation of new business will add a new dimension to the relationship between Japan and Uganda. This place, if you go to the reception, there's no people. There's only a robot, okay? And now this place is becoming a very popular tourist destination for people coming from abroad. Next time, Permanent Secretary, you have to stay there. And also, I see many articles in the newspaper or in the TV news that many farmers now in Japan are using ICT. Giving water, fertilizer, it's all done by AI.
The development comes at a time when Uganda has just introduced a 5-year long-term roadmap for digital transformation with the aim of providing fast, affordable, and easily accessible internet, which serves to lay necessary infrastructure, promote digital literacy, and encourage innovation and startups.
In handling the infrastructure, laying the national backbone infrastructure, to extend it to the rest of the country so that Ugandans can have access to fast and affordable internet, so that connectivity is accessed everywhere in the different corners of the country. We haven't reached all the corners, but we are on the way reaching there. We are doing everything possible to promote digital literacy so that Ugandans can get literacy skills in terms of ICT. We are supporting areas of innovation so that we can attain digital sovereignty, so that our Ugandans can come up with innovations to address the day-to-day challenges that we face.
Amina Zawede, the Permanent Secretary to the Ministry of ICT, confirms that the 4-year partnership presents employment opportunities to young skilled Ugandans in areas such as software engineering, among others.
Those of us create opportunities to see what talent do we have that matches what the Japanese companies have to do jobs for them, mainly in ICT, in different other professions, not only ICT, engineering, health. We have medical doctors who have come from Japan to Uganda to look at the field of, health. What is it that we can do? There is telemedicine today. Someone can sit here in Uganda and provide prescriptions or so many things for the medical field in Japan. So this project is a 4-year project.
Over 40 young people are poised to benefit from this project, which aims to train Ugandans in different areas. Stuart Jakon, Smart 24 Television, Business Today.
Now we'll head to the west of Africa as the Central Bank of Nigeria has further hiked the key lending rate to 18.75% from the 18.5%, responding to the soaring inflation for the 6th consecutive month. Inflation currently stands at 22.79% as the central bank sustains pressure to create the monetary balance. Inflation in Africa's largest economy has been in double digits. This is since 2016, with the high cost of living eroding incomes and savings.
Disregarding President Bola Tinubu's call to loosen up monetary tightening, the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria has further increased the key lending rate to 18.75% from 18.50%, continuing the country's longest stretch in the last 14 months. The acting central bank governor, Folashodun Shonubi, expressed confidence in the hikes and attributed the moderate economic recovery to tightening.
Members agreed unanimously that the previous series of rate hikes had indeed greatly moderated the pace of price increases. The balance of these arguments thus leaned in favor of a moderate rate hike to sustain efforts at anchoring inflation expectation, narrow the negative real interest rate gap, and improve investor confidence. The MPR voted to raise the policy rate by 25 basis points from 18.5% to 18.75%.
The West African economy has attended to cutthroat inflation since September 2005 as food inflation contributes largest. The central bank pointed to domestic and global factors such as the Russia-Ukraine war, polarized global economy, and China's slow recovery, stating that these challenges still have no end in sight. President Tinubu has embarked on a number of bold reforms in decades, including the removal of a popular but costly fuel subsidy and the loosening of restrictions on foreign exchange trading. He recently fired the central bank governor, Godwin Emefiele, after promising a thorough house cleaning of the monetary policy. Gene Daniel, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
And here we are, as we're summing up with the bulletin tonight, let's have a recap of our top stories. In the headlines tonight, Nabanja lures Italians. The Prime Minister entices Milan investors, fronts incentives and trading blocks. The UNBS and SMEs clash. Manufacturers blame Uganda National Bureau of Standards for losses as supermarkets unshelve their products. And in keeping track of businesses, URA tasks local enterprises on efficient record management as several businesses still manifest book record-keeping challenges. And we finally come to the end of business today, Thursday, the 27th of July 2023. I'm Jerome Paul Sonko with Winnie Nakauchi on full sign language interpretation, and pretty much a wonderful time having you this evening. From Plot for the 209 Avenue, the entire newsroom and editorial wish you all the best for your evening and a blessed night.